over to you.
Thank you.
3, 2, 1.
Hello, everybody. Just a quick before I start. It might overrun a little, okay, but only a little. So where we left Alana last time, she was about to get into this amazing canopy bed with the drapes and the loveliness of everything, yeah. And that's where we stopped. So part 2 is called Enlightenment. So this is chapter 5. The next morning, I was awakened by the sound of violins softly playing in the distance. What a nice way to wake up, I thought to myself. I looked around to see what time it was. Then I remembered that I hadn't seen a clock in the entire castle. Talawanda didn't seem too concerned about time. Even my own watch had stopped working. I enjoyed a hot bubble bath in the luxurious sunken tub which came with the room. So far, this vacation was much, much more than I had ever dreamed of. Talawanda's timing was perfect. I had just finished getting dressed when there was a knock on my bedroom door. Somehow, I knew it was him before I opened it. He took my hand and smiled. "How's my darling?" "I'm having a wonderful, wonderful time," I said. "It pleases me very much to hear that. After breakfast, we shall begin your lessons. What would you like to learn about today?" I laughed and said, "That's a great way to teach. Well, let me think. Something that has always bothered me is an old saying that I heard in church. Know thyself. I know who I am, of course, but somehow I feel like I'm missing something. Do you think you could help me understand that better?" Talawanda smiled and shrugged his shoulders. "I don't know. Maybe. I've been trying to get people to understand that one for a long, long time. It's probably the most important thing that anyone can learn. Because once you understand who you really are, then a lot of the other mysteries and confusions about life will vanish. I'll try to explain it." Without stopping for breakfast, we went directly to the stables, where he had a fabulous selection of fine thoroughbred horses. The stable attendant escorted a magnificent all-white horse named Patron Saint in our direction. Talawanda asked, "Is you all warmed up and ready to go?" "All set," the attendants replied happily. I giggled at Talawanda and said, "I was almost expecting to see flying horses with wings." He looked at me with a great big smile and replied, "All in good time, my dear, all in good time." We both laughed as we hopped up onto Patron Saint. The attendant handed Talawanda a small picnic basket and we were off. The horse trotted energetically for about 10 minutes as he took us to a beautiful scenic meadow with a quiet stream. "Gee, that was fun," I laughed as Talawanda assisted me down from the saddle. Talawanda let Patron Saint graze and drink as we prepared our picnic site. After eating, Talawanda uttered, Well, let's see now. Know thyself. Easier said than done, it would seem." He looked over at me and asked, "First of all, who do you think you are?" I replied, "I'm me, this body here." Talawanda grinned and inquired, "Well, it seems that you have it all figured out. Are you satisfied with your certainty about who you are?" I answered, I still get this feeling that some piece to the puzzle is missing. Talawanda nodded his head and said, "You're right. Something is missing. The truth. The truth is, you are not a body. You never have been. Of course, you can very easily pretend that you are a body, but it's only a pretense. Never pretend too hard on that one. It will get you into many problems. People think that when the body dies, their soul leaves the body. I hate to tell you this, but you do not have a soul. A soul is not something you have, it's something you are. You are the soul. You are it. A long, long time ago, you didn't need a body. You played amongst the stars, happy and free, long before bodies were even invented. It was quite normal for you to move objects around without the aid of limbs and muscles. You simply levitated things from here to there. But I'm afraid that levitation is a thing of the past, except for being part of a magician's bag of tricks. Even telepathy is all but forgotten in the physical universe, and it has been replaced by anger and distrust. Perfect, well understood communication existed long before mouths and voices and hateful words were ever dreamed of. 1 trillion years would pass without a single pain or sorrow. Games were played where everyone would win. There was never a loser. No need for uniforms with numbers to identify the players, like in The Prisoner. You knew each other without the aid of bodies and names. You were immortals. You knew nothing of agony, grief, or failure. Before bodies, you knew nothing of restriction. You could span a galaxy with your touch or embrace a planet with affection. You were creative, loving souls. By a mere thought, you could bring a planet into existence or explode 1 million stars in celebration to a loved one. You were carefree souls. You played new and exciting games. Never a thought that your wisdom and immortality could be forgotten. But then, bodies were invented and played with, much like wind-up toy animals or dolls. You were big at first in comparison to these interesting animations. In the beginning, there was never a doubt that you existed outside and independent to these cute animated little toys. Games were played with these new toys. They drew much attention. At first, the games were fun and harmless, but as the eons passed, the rules to the games became more and more complicated. Rules and restrictions made the games more exciting, more interesting, and more convincing. One rule which made history was each creature must eat and breathe to maintain activity. If it does not eat and breathe over a certain length of time, then it is disqualified. You now call this death. This rule affected the engineering of almost every animation. This rule about eating and breathing is an automatic necessity on Earth today. No one ever questions it or realizes that it was just a rule to add detail and fun to the game. The rule about eating turned out to be a bad rule because it led to the killing of one creature by another. It was interesting to watch, but some of the owners got upset. Some of the beings didn't communicate as much as before. They spent time improving their toys so they could better win at the contests and battles. It was also at this time that various handicaps such as sleep and fatigue were introduced into the rules of the game. Now the creatures had limited endurance and could get tired. This added wonderful and exciting new challenges to the games. At first, there was no evil intent, but the games progressed. This fascination with bodies continued. The improvements never stopped. Creatures were equipped so they could automatically reproduce themselves without having to be manufactured individually. Many beings equipped their toys with better equipment, such as bigger teeth and stronger jaws, so they could better destroy the enemy creatures. The fascination continued, and the souls communicated to each other less and less. They were getting too involved with the games. Details and rules were added to the engineering of the toys. They were designed with a built-in self-destruct mechanism, now called a lifespan. The type of food they could eat was programmed into them. Rules were established about how fast each type of creature was permitted to reproduce. This rule helped to maintain what you now call the balance of nature. A creature which was indestructible was not so much fun to play with. So every creature was programmed that it was vulnerable to various things. So-called viruses and bacteria were invented. They helped add more challenge to the games. Almost every creature was provided with programmed responses so that it knew what to do in times of danger. This programming was transferable from one generation to another. Most of the toys were equipped so they could remember friendly and hostile situations. Millions of varieties of creatures were invented. Anything from viruses to cabbages to apes. The creatures were super advanced, highly technical, biological animations. The ultimate in wind-up toys and dolls. They appeared to be very much alive and aware, but they weren't. Only a soul is alive and aware. The test of whether you are a soul is this: am I aware of being aware? If so, then you are not an animation. They were so well made that it was difficult to tell that they weren't actually alive. Every creature was such a marvel of technical perfection that the beings no longer had to watch over them. The animations were self-perpetuating, totally automatic, living, machines. Then the beings made a terrible, terrible, terrible mistake. The worst mistake in the history of the physical universe. They invented a new twist to the game. They decided to play a game by getting inside these toys. It was a very special game that everyone could play. A special variety of toy was created just for this new game. It was a very special body known today as the human body. It's a very pretty body. It gives wonderful sensations which encourage reproduction. They were happy and excited to play in this new game, but they had to agree to certain rules. Rules which would severely limit their powers and awareness. Rules. You must reduce your size and stay inside the head until the body dies or approaches death. Only one body per player at one time. No stealing of a body that has already been claimed. You must forget that you are a spiritual being. You must reduce your awareness to a certain level of intelligence and no more. If the body is hurt or attacked by disease, you must agree to feel the pain. Pain was invented to add detail and reality to the game's foolish invention. You must use the muscles and motor controls of the body only. Use of levitation or telepathy is strictly forbidden. You must pretend wholeheartedly that you are the body. You must take the game seriously and stick to the rules, no matter what. If one body is killed or dies, you must immediately return to the game by picking up a new body as soon as one is available. The game is survival. See how long you can keep that one body going no matter what. Start. Here is a simple demonstration to show how a being can convince himself that his powers are limited. First, make a fist. Now pretend that you cannot open it. If you pretend really hard and manage to convince yourself that you cannot open it, then so be it. Remember, a being can do anything. He can even inflict various handicaps upon himself so that the game of life is more challenging and not so easy to win. A being can even convince himself that he is a human body with many limitations. Perhaps now you can understand the problem with beings in the physical universe, particularly human beings. They have convinced themselves of all the wrong things. They have inflicted too many handicaps upon themselves. Their own powers and awareness have been reduced to such a low level that now they are confused, hypnotized slaves. Slaves of their own game, trapped by their own illusions. The only escape is to become unhypnotized and unconvinced. One must wake up. That is the only road to freedom. Talawanda paused and then said, I've told you too much already. Knowledge is like pouring water from a glass into a bottle. If you pour it too fast, then much will spill and go to waste. You've heard things today that are too fantastic to believe, things which few humans would ever dream of. It's pretty hard to know thyself after you've agreed so hard not to. I was spellbound and begged him to continue. Talawanda, what happened after the game started? He paused and said horrible things. Perhaps tomorrow I will tell you. I pleaded. No, please tell me now. I've been listening to every word. Well, I've already told you more than you realise, but as you wish. The more they used the bodies, the more they became accustomed to operating them from the inside. It was exciting and different handling a body from inside. The sensation of sleep and the other feelings which their bodies provided were fascinating to the souls. In the beginning, even pain was merely another interesting sensation. At first, it was difficult to become accustomed to the rules, but with enough practice, they learned how to stay inside the body and feel pain when the body was injured or ill. The rule about limiting one's powers and awareness made the game interesting and challenging. It was difficult at first, but they continued to work at it. They became experts at using the body's muscles. Even levitation was eliminated. Telepathy was still used for a long time. Sounds and symbols had to be developed so that communication could occur by making inscriptions in sand or making sounds with the voice. As the level of communication reduced, the humans broke apart into separate groups. Many souls still desired to get into the game, so they waited for the humans to reproduce and increase the availability of new bodies. As time passed, the game became more and more convincing. It didn't even seem like a game anymore. It became more and more serious. Levitation had become extinct, so tools were designed and constantly improved upon. Eons passed, and the tools became very technical, and languages became highly refined. More eons passed, and space travel was achieved. Beings who could once create stars now began to travel out among them in new toys called spacecraft. With space travel, languages, technologies, and civilizations spread throughout the galaxy. As time passed, hatred, jealousy, and anger became commonplace. Beings had totally lost track of who they were. They followed the rules very well. When a body died, there was sorrow and grief. Without a body, a being felt like a lost soul. The body meant everything. When a body died, the being would abandon his prior knowledge and education, and it would re-enter the game in a new body, confused and lacking his prior knowledge of who he had been. Today's professor could be tomorrow's shoeshine boy. A variety of religions came into existence, all with good intentions, each one attempting to explain and unravel the mysteries of the universe. Some possessed fragments of truth, but all were unclear and incomplete in their explanations. The truth was well buried. Wars, interplanetary invasions, destruction, and pain were all too common. Many of the things which are written about by science fiction writers are actually fragments of cloudy recalls, things which have actually occurred. But most of the readers and authors alike prefer to believe it's just imaginary. History repeats itself continuously. Planets and civilizations were destroyed by wars. Eons later, languages and technologies would be reconstructed. Televisions, radios, architecture, machines, etc., continue to be reinvented. Most of the inventions on Earth today are not inventions at all, they are rediscoveries. Inventors get vague flashes from the past and they call them ideas. You've heard the expression, one idea leads to another. Well, truthfully, that should read, one memory triggers another. This is why Earth has undergone such rapid technical advances in machinery, aircraft, and electronics. It has all happened before. Well, so much for the history lesson. Let's head on back. Patron saint, come on, boy, time to go home. Returning from the picnic, Talawanda walked patron saint at a casual pace as I sat on the saddle in front of Talawanda. I was still burning with questions, so I asked him about his kingdom. Talawanda, yes, my love, your castle and grounds are exquisite, but why do you call this your universe? It's no different from the physical universe. Objects are still solid here. Gravity still holds me on the floor. You and your staff eat food. So why do you call it your universe? Without turning around, I could hear him quietly laughing. My darling, you seem to think that there is something wrong with your wristwatch. There isn't. You will notice that it has merely slowed way down. This entire day may take only 15 minutes of physical universal time, or it could take 15,000 years. It doesn't matter. Except that you would lose your job if you were gone 15,000 years without calling in sick. We both laughed. Then Talawanda continued. When I told you that this is another universe, I did not lie. This may resemble the physical world you are so familiar with, but that is precisely the point. Things look familiar. The water, the air, the smells and colours seem real in every detail. Do you agree? Oh, yes, things are very real. There's no doubt about that, I replied. Talawanda continued. You feel at home. And that is why I created all of this, so that you would have some things you could relate to. That is why I maintain this body, so we can touch and share love. If I placed you suddenly in a world where gravity did not exist and objects were no more solid than a beam of light, and I didn't communicate to you through a body, well, I'm afraid we wouldn't have much in common. The best guarantee for love and good communication is to share things in common. Things we can both relate to and agree on. I realise that you would probably like to walk through walls together. Well, that's fine. But let's get to that level gradually. To do otherwise would shock you and things would seem unreal. You can accomplish or learn anything if you approach it one step at a time. Whoa, boy. The horse came to a halt halfway back to the stable. We climbed down and Talawanda strapped the empty picnic basket onto the saddle. Talawanda patted Patron Saint and said, "We'll take it from here. You go home and play." Immediately, the horse broke into a sprint, leaving nothing in sight but a trail of dust. Talawanda took my hand and escorted me off to the side of the trail. He led me to a field of soft grass. We sat there in silence, searching into each other's eyes. The more I looked at him, the more alive I felt. My vision became sharp and clear. The sounds of birds and a distant stream seemed remarkably close. Colours appeared brighter, and suddenly I felt like I was floating 5 feet in the back of my body. It was the strangest, most tranquil feeling I could ever remember. I felt distance between myself and my body. It was a very peaceful sensation, like the feeling I get from a little too much wine, but it was different, much better. Everything was clear. My thinking was sharp and my perceptions were better than ever. I felt really big. I could almost feel what was on his mind. It felt like he really cared about me, but I could see that he was in a different league. I got the feeling he was 10 miles tall, looking down at me through the eyes of that body. Then he broke the silence, saying, "I guess it's time you should know how I feel about you, and explain why I would do anything for you." I had been deeply relaxed, but when he said that, my heart began to pound. I wanted to say something, but even if I could have thought of words to say, they would have stuck in my throat. Then he softly said, "The best way that I can explain is to ask you to close your eyes and turn back to those forgotten chapters in history. Long, long ago, before you were chained down by human restrictions, you were free. You had always known the taste of freedom. You were eternally happy. There was a companion in your life, someone to admire your illusions, a friend who thought as you thought, a playmate you could chase throughout the heavens or dance with inside a burning sun. You knew of love and undying friendships. You had a companion who was loyal and worthy of trust, a companion whose love and integrity could not be eroded by the passage of time. You had a companion who solemnly pledged not to interfere as you explored the games offered in the physical universe. A companion who knew better than to enter such games, but promised to wait for you until you return. You have a companion who will always be loyal, but he misses you, and he is lonely, and he is still waiting. I opened my eyes and discovered that the beautiful sadness had brought tears to both of us. Not a word was spoken. The mystery was exposed. My thirst for answers had been quenched. Talawanda took my hands in his and stood there with a seriousness of purpose I had not seen in him before. He paused for a long time as the surrounding environment became strangely quiet. He looked at me with a sad but hopeful expression and said, My darling, the time has come. You must return to the physical universe now. Eons ago, I gave you my pledge that I would not disturb you in your activities in the physical universe. I am honourable, but please forgive me for this one violation of my promise. I shall not disturb you again. If I have touched your heart with enough love and inspiration, you shall be able to find your way back to me. You will have to do it on your own. That is the only way. We shall reunite for eternity. There are those on earth who speak as I speak. If you seek them out, they can help you restore enough of your powers so that you can find your way back. No matter what happens, I shall always love you, and I shall wait for you forever. As he finished his message, I could see his eyes fill with tears. Suddenly, his body and the surrounding scenery began to fade out until it was completely gone. Talawanda! Talawanda! I cried out, horrified by the sudden loss. In the distance and darkness, I could hear bells. They became louder and louder until suddenly I woke up, dazed and amazed. The bells were my alarm clock. I looked around in shock, only to find myself in my bedroom. My bedroom in my apartment in Hollywood, California, USA, Earth, physical universe. This couldn't be happening. I looked over at the calendar on my nightstand and it read Saturday, July 22nd, 1978. That's the morning after I first saw Talawanda's performance at the Magic Castle. I felt tears coming on as I frantically grabbed the phone to call the operator and confirm the date. Operator, what's today's date? I asked in a panic. Saturday, July the 22nd, the operator replied. My eyes were a pool of tears as I hung up the telephone. All a dream? I said to myself. All just a dream? Rio, the romance, the sights, the sounds, all the glorious adventure, all the miracles, just a dream that never occurred, just an illusion that doesn't exist. I headed to the bathroom to get a Kleenex to wipe the tears from my face. I need one of those myself. Suddenly, the doorbell rang. I threw on a robe and house slippers and ran to the living room. Without opening the front door, I asked, "Who is it?" "Delivery for Alana Taylor," the young man replied. "Delivery?" I wondered. I opened the door just wide enough to receive the package so the delivery man wouldn't see the mascara smeared around my eyes. It was a box of long-stemmed red roses. I closed the door, then tore open the attached envelope and read the message. My dear Alana, if it can be experienced, it exists. You cannot experience something which doesn't exist. If you absorb half of what I taught you, then a miracle has indeed occurred. Forever, Talawanda. Epilogue. Far too often has Talawanda been disappointed in his desire to better the conditions of this world. There will be no more crusades, no more flashy campaigns. He owes his time to no one. Talawanda's teachings will not penetrate every heart. If this book has not inspired you, just disregard it. On the other hand, the only road to freedom is through wisdom and study. If you find that his teachings have enriched your life and you would like the lessons to continue, then express your interest by getting this book into the hands of just 2 other people. So there we go, folks. I thought it was going to go over and it didn't. Let me just go back to, can't remember if it's in here. Yes. The introduction. Yeah. As you read my story, decide for yourself if it is true. But only you can make that decision. As for myself, by the time you read these words, I shall be reunited with my eternal companion, Talawanda. And there you go, folks. Bear with me. I'm just going to go get a tissue. Oh, blimey. Okay. So, is anyone else crying? It's just me. Did you all fall asleep?
I didn't fall asleep, but I'm not crying either, though.
Okay, that's all right. I think it's just me. What do we think?
It was like a dream becoming reality for us. Yeah,
yes.
It was very enlightening.
Yeah. Well, it's called the Enlightenment, so that makes sense. Anyone else want to comment on that story? Which, since I first read it, it's never left me. Never. Like I say, it's like a sequel to the Celestine prophecy. What he's describing there about reality creation. They are such poor words for what we are actually capable of, I believe. But it's the bit about getting into the physical body, so it's just is, I don't know, it's quite shocking, isn't it? Then you're trapped. You get so caught up in the game that you're then trapped. Whoa!
Very relevant to now, the timing, isn't it, really, Angie?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I missed a chunk in the middle when my children phoned in a bit of a crisis, so I'll have to go back and remind myself a little bit. But yeah, thank you for sharing that. It's lovely. It's lovely.
I think it's yeah, that first time I read it, I don't know, it for me, what it did was it rang so many bells first time I read it. It was just like every fiber in my being was going, yes, this is truth. I don't know if you guys feel that.
Oh, quite a lot of what was said, for me personally, is like stating the obvious, to a certain extent.
Yes.
Some of the conclusions that were garnered, yes, I thought the way that the authors depicted the Earth realm as a playground, basically, which is what I've always said for quite a long time now, that it's just entertainment. It's a game.
Yeah.
So that resonated very strongly with me.
Yeah.
And also with the when religions were mentioned, it's like, yeah, you take a kernel of truth and then you wrap it up in propaganda and then bamboozle the masses so that you can control them, and then you can pit them against each other and create war and devastation, etc., etc.
Absolutely.
So a lot of all that came in it as well. So yeah, there was a lot of like, yep, pretty much that's it. Yeah, you're on it there. You've nailed it. Okay, so I'm going to ask the question.
because it's I do vaguely remember I think it was I can't remember if it was a group or something that I was when I was researching this piece of writing. I did not a really deep dive, but I did a bit of a dive on what the author, and I, it appears like he disappeared, which is quite interesting. So if they disappeared, did they, disappear like they did in the book? Did they rejoin their loved one on that other plane of existence? It's quite interesting. But I mean that was quite some years ago now. That was probably back in 2019, something like that, I think. I know it was quite a while ago. So there might be new information out there now. So feel free to go and, dig around and see what you can find. Absolutely.
Well, I've just done a search for the Enlightenment Part Zero, and of course yours came up.
Of course.
From 2 years ago.
Yeah.
There's also another one called the Enlightenment Part Zero by D. Alan Holmes that was 1 year ago. Then there's a book reading the Enlightenment Part Zero 3 years ago. So there's quite a bit out there on YouTube alone.
Yeah.
And spanning a few years by the looks of it. But apparently there was an actual film made, wasn't there?
It was supposed to be being made into a film, but I don't know if it ever was. I never found it. I never found a film. But like I say, that was a few years ago. So have a bit of a dive and see what you can find, guys. If you fancy it, don't have to, obviously.
Yeah, it's going to be one of them. I mean, I've just put the Enlightenment, the movie, in, and I've got all sorts of stuff coming up that could be or could not be related. It's not knowing who's made the movie. Yeah, that's going to be a pain to try and find out.
This is when I quite like AI. I bloody hate it most of the time, I tell you. But it's quite interesting to read what AI puts. It doesn't say what's happened to him or anything, but I didn't ask that. I literally put his name in and then pressed search assist. And it just says things like his work often delves into themes such as ESP, past lives, out-of-body experiences. He's written on various subjects, including UFOs and lucid dreaming. His work encourages readers to question their perceptions of reality and explore deeper spiritual truths. His insights have resonated with many, prompting discussions about the nature of existence and consciousness.
Wow.
I'm sure AI probably got a lot more to say if I ask the right question.
Does it say if he died or he just disappeared? Does it say anything about that?
No, let me just put in. Let me ask if he's still alive. Is still alive. Right, search assist.
Yeah, I mean, just ChatGPT if there was a film made of the Enlightenment by D. Alan Holmes, and it's like they say no.
He just died. He just died this June.
Really?
He died on June the 8th, 25. He was 80 years old at the time of his death.
Wow.
He died in Kansas City whilst holding his wife's hand.
Oh, bless. So he didn't disappear then?
It would seem not, no.
Interesting.
Mm.
Okay.
The D would seem to stand for David. I mean, I put in D. Allen Holmes still alive, and it's come up with David Allen Holmes. So I'm kind of making a huge guess that it's actually the same person.
Sounds like it from what he, the description of his work. Sounds like the same guy. I can't imagine there'd be two that have the same kind of body of work.
When I just put a search in with his name, that's when it came up with all the stuff. And then then I said, "Is D. Allen Holmes still alive?" And it came back with David Allen Holmes passed away in June, blah blah blah.
Oh, so right, okay, yeah.
So what I'm saying is, it might not be the same person.
Yeah.
I would have to go a bit deeper than that, I think.
Yeah. Interesting.
Maybe have you got ChatGPT, Andy? Maybe that one would come up with something different.
Yeah, I just did a quick search on ChatGPT about the film, and it came back with no, as far as it's aware, there is no film ever, adaptation ever been made of that book by D. Allen Holmes. But that doesn't necessarily mean that there isn't one.
Exactly. AI doesn't know everything. It only knows it's GIGO, isn't it? Garbage in, garbage out. So it doesn't know everything.
But I'm just doing a search on iDope. There's nothing on D. Allen Holmes or David Allen Holmes in iDope. And there's nothing coming up with the title The Enlightenment under movies. So there's nothing coming up there either.
Interesting.
So ChatGPT says, "I wasn't able to find any reliable information or recent references about a person named D. Allen Holmes. No obituary, biography, or news mention that would indicate whether they're alive or deceased." Yeah. So I did come across a mention of an Alan D. Holmes, and I'm like, no. You're talking about the wrong person.
You got to love AI. I don't have an answer, but here's an answer that's not quite the right answer.
I know. I'm going to put in author of the Enlightenment and see what it comes up with.
That's funny.
It's asking me for more information.
AI is so funny. Oh my goodness.
Oh, you're right. You're referring to the Enlightenment, and the author of that work is indeed D. Allen Holmes. First published, blah blah blah. Oh, that's all it's telling me. So it doesn't seem, it's interesting, isn't it? So it can't actually tell me whether he's still alive or not.
Yep. Interesting, huh? So maybe he did disappear. Maybe he did disappear.
I think he did. That fits with my sense. Yeah.
Wow, that's very cool. That's amazing.
That's got to be the best answer, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Because it's searching. It's basically a massive database. So it's just gone away and searched for that name and said, "Well, sorry, there's nothing here." I mean.
Okay, I've got a bit more now. So it says there's no credible public record of obituary or death notice indicating that D. Allen Holmes, author of The Enlightenment, has passed away. The trail goes cold after the book's release. No evidence of a sequel or further appearances. Here's what can be pieced together. Occult. So he was on occult forums.
Yeah.
It's from 2012. Someone claiming to have communicated with one of Holmes's collaborators, the cover artist, who stated that D. Allen Holmes has vanished after parting ways with Scientology in the early 1980s. The same post mentioned that Holmes and others turned out to be too creative thinking for Scientology, and that he was accused of mixing practices, a notable misstep in the organisation's view. in summary, there's no very verifiable information confirming that D. Allen Francis died, but there's also no evidence of his ongoing public presence, suggesting that he withdrew from the public or literary sphere after the early 1980s. There you go. Isn't that interesting?
It was the forum where I was. Yeah, I vaguely remember going through pages and pages on a forum. Yeah, that rings a bell.
Really interesting, isn't it? Love it. I have to say that's the first time probably in my life I can give a tick to AI.
So what do we think, folks? Do you think that writing was someone's actual experience?
Yeah, I think it was. It's one of them things, isn't it? It's, did he make it all up? But you know, was it just a whole thing of fiction, or was it the truth disguised as fiction?
Yes. But like they say, like he says about sci-fi. I mean, we know, if you watch sci-fi, you know that it's a truth. It's a truth, yeah. And I don't know how we know that, but then he explains that it's like it's all been done before. All we're doing is repeating these patterns, so we know it's true when we watch it and we see, beings of light, light dispersing everywhere, neutrinos. We know that's true when we watch it. We know deep down in here, in this thing that is not real, that is a wind-up toy. I love that. It's just so cool with wind-up toys. We know because it reaches something so far down inside us and goes, hello.
It's like reading the Lord of the Rings. It becomes like a real place to you.
Oh yeah, always. Any more comments or shares? Anybody?
No, I've got nothing else other than part of the mysteries of the Matrix trilogy films alluded to that specific thing of reality just repeating itself repeatedly over and over and over and over, regardless of who wins this one. It will repeat in the next, and the other side will win in the next, and then the other side will win. And it's a constant repetition. It's a constant flow of, one side wins, the other side loses, and so on and so on. And who knows how many times it's been done.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the waveform. Goes up, it goes down, it goes around, spiral.
Yep.
It's a spiral and a wave at the same time.
And it's the yin yang symbol as well, because you've got the two sides, the black and white sides, but you've also got the eyes of each one. So each one is represented in the other of the other. It's
absolutely.
A perpetual motion of duality.
And that's also the toroidal field. So it's always moving and cycling back round again. And that's from an atom, or whatever, to the universe. It's always perpetual motion.
We create our own toroidal field as well.
Yes, we do.
From our heart center.
Yeah.
So it's everywhere in that sense. And the Earth has one as well. We call it the magnetic field, but that is a toroidal field.
Yeah, it is. They're everywhere. So that would include, repeating patterns. That's why they repeat, because it's that toroidal field. It's amazing, isn't it? I love it. But I think I'm ready to. I don't know about you guys. I'm ready to go up a level. Get out of this looping.
Get up to Glastonbury Hill and take on some new frequencies up there.
Oh, are you talking about oh blimey. I forgot the name of it. Oh my goodness. Glastonbury Tour.
Tor Hill, yeah.
Yeah, it's an amazing place and is actually the door to the underworld where Arwen lives. There you go. The magical portal up there. It's all gone
I
quiet.
guess there's portals like that all around the earth, including maybe under Khafre pyramid in Egypt and
Absolutely.
other places in Mexico, Pyramid of the Sun, Mexico, Lake Titicaca, all these different, I guess, energy centers
Yeah.
that somehow control frequency of Mother Earth.
Mm. Yeah. Because it's said that the earth has chakras as well, and the heart chakra is at Glastonbury, which is interesting. Somewhere I have a diagram of it. I'm not sure where it is, but if I find it, I will post it up on the group. So it's quite interesting to look at because it kind of corresponds with ley lines, which is interesting.
Well, just to let everybody know, I've put the PDF photocopy of the book on the group, so it's there, ready to be read if people want to read it themselves. Download it, print it off.
And if
It's not a
you've
print copy, but it's definitely readable.
Oh yeah, it's not a fantastic copy, but and share it. Share it out. If you think someone would love this story, share it out because that's why I originally narrated it and put it up on YouTube. I've got loads of views on the one on the hero's journey, I think the channel is. They're the only two things I've got up there, and they got loads of views. So clearly, people want to hear it. So if you know someone that wants to hear this story, share it with them. Share the PDF. Definitely. Yeah. Okay. So if no one else has got anything they want to comment or any last messages, any other business.
Just thanks a lot, Andy, for bringing this